If you watch professional Rocket League today versus 10 years ago, you'd think you're watching a completely different game. Multiple times a game, you will see ceiling shots, flip resets, air dribbles, and combinations of all three that seem to last forever. If you're coming back after a break, you're probably shocked by the mechanical level. And if you're new to the game, you might watch these pros and think, how is this even possible? But here's a question nobody talks about. Why are they doing this? There has to be more to it than just showing off. A few years ago, a retired pro named Flakes proved you could reach high ranks staying completely grounded. His philosophy was simple. Let opponents mess up their fancy aerials while you play smart and efficient. But why don't any pros play like that anymore? In this video, I'm gonna do a detailed analysis on exactly that. Why is Rocket League so aerial heavy, and why doesn't being a grounded player work anymore? To understand this question, you need to understand what Rocket League used to look like. Let me take you back to 2015. This was a time where professional Rocket League was basically a different sport. Players stayed on the ground. Teams had dedicated goalkeepers who literally just sat in net. And the most exciting aerial play you'd see at the time was a simple jump and flip. This pro gameplay that you see in 2015 and 2016 was arguably the equivalent of platinum and diamond ranked gameplay today. Think about it like this. Imagine if basketball players suddenly discovered they could fly. That's essentially what happened to Rocket League, and that's what happens as you climb the ranks today. Let me show you actual footage from early RLCS matches. Look at this. Players are driving around like it's a racing game with a ball. Boost management meant don't waste it driving up walls, and the most advanced strategy you would see was rotate back to goal. Okay, it's easy for me to meme this, even though I was even worse at the time. But somewhere around 2016 or 2017, something clicked. Players started realizing that the game had 3 dimensions, not just 2. The first air dribbles weren't just flashy, they were effective. The first ceiling shots weren't just lucky, they were strategic. And once that door opened, there was no going back. What started as simple aerial touches became an arms race. The first player to consistently air dribble had a massive advantage. Why? Because nobody knew how to defend it. Suddenly, everyone else had to learn it or get left behind. And you can't truly understand how to defend an attack until you can do it yourself. Only then do you realize the options an attacker has at any given moment. Over 2018, 2019, and into 2020, Rocket League took this to the extreme. Air dribbles led to ceiling shots. Ceiling shots led to flip resets. Flip resets led to double flip resets. And before you knew it, players were doing things that seemed physically impossible. The mechanical ceiling didn't just get higher, it got infinite. Here's the crucial part that most people miss. This wasn't just about looking cool. Each new mechanic solved a specific problem that the previous generation of players couldn't solve. Do you have space and the defenders aren't challenging you yet? Don't shoot. Dribble the ball. Do you have space? Take the ball to the wall for an air dribble. Are players able to stop the air dribble? Add a flip reset in the middle to change the speed of the ball. You rinse and repeat this cycle every day, and you get this arms race of mechanically cracked pros sprinting to one-up each other. Anytime someone discovered a mechanic, they were at a massive advantage. Justin proved this 8 years ago, and Zen still proves it today. So, when and why has Flakes' grounded philosophy stopped working at the highest level? The game plan is stay grounded, be efficient, and let opponents mess up their aerials. It worked brilliantly at high ranks, and even still works brilliantly today in the low ranks until you hit this wall. Here's the problem. Grounded play is predictable. When you're on the ground with the ball, you have 3 options to play the ball around the defender. You can either go left, go right, or flick or pop the ball up. That's it. A good defender can read these options and position accordingly. The key observation here is the moment you take the ball into the air, everything changes. When you're in the air, you have even more than just 4 options. You can now go over the defender, you can go under them, you could go left, you could go right, but you could also delay your touch. You could speed up. You could even land and then go back into the air. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors, but aerial players get to choose from a deck of cards. The strategic advantage here isn't just having more options, it's forcing your opponents to guess. And when they guess wrong, you score. Here's something most players don't realize. When you start an air dribble, you're not just trying to score. You're forcing your opponent to make a decision. They have to aerial to defend you, and aerialing costs boost. In a 1v1 situation, if your opponent is low on boost and you start an air dribble, they're basically helpless. They can't jump high enough to defend, so you get a free goal. But here's the genius part. You control when this happens. You can wait for them to use their boost, then immediately go aerial. You're not just playing the ball, you're playing the boost economy. This same 1v1 principle applies to 2v2 and 3v3. If you can use your boost to force multiple defenders to have to burn theirs, you're stacking small wins. It's kind of like poker, but with rocket cars. You're not just playing your hand, you're controlling when your opponent has to fold. This is where it gets really interesting and where most players miss the point. The mistake and cope I used to make is I'm good at dribbling. I can play the ball around one defender, so I don't need these aerial plays because I'm still doing my job. That's partially true in 1v1, but it breaks down fast. You see, in 1v1, you can sometimes win with ground play. In 2v2, it's harder, but in 3v3, it's nearly impossible at high levels. Watch this scenario. You're driving toward 3 defenders, and with ground play, you flick past the first one, and then the ball goes directly to the second one, and now you're getting counterattacked. Game over. But with aerial play, you can now go over the first defender, under the second, and around the third. You can create a 3v1 situation and turn it into a 1v1 with the goalkeeper. This is why every pro has adapted to aerial play. It's not about mechanics, it's about creating advantages against multiple defenders. When you see a pro doing a ceiling shot in a 3v3 match, they're not trying to look cool. They're trying to beat multiple defenders with one play. What does this mean if you're not a pro? Here's the beautiful part. You don't need to be mechanically perfect to use these concepts. At lower ranks, even a basic air dribble forces defenders to make difficult decisions. Most players at gold and platinum level panic when they see the ball coming from above. They jump too early, they miss the ball, and most of the time, you get a free goal. At higher ranks, this same mechanical arms race is still going on. But the key is understanding that these mechanics aren't just fancy tricks. They're strategic tools. Think of them as individual moves or abilities you can use in game. When you learn an air dribble, you're not just learning a mechanic. You're learning a tool that controls space, time, and your opponent's decisions. The strategic advantage scales with your rank, but it exists at every level. So, where does this leave the future of Rocket League? The mechanical ceiling keeps getting higher, but the principles remain the same. Players who understand why they're doing aerial plays will always have an advantage over players who are just copying what they see. The next evolution won't just be more complex mechanics. It'll be smarter use of existing mechanics. Players who can read their opponent's boost, position, and psychology are going to dominate players who can only do the flashy tricks. This is why when I coach players, I don't just teach them how to air dribble. I teach them when to air dribble. I would love to see you play this ball over to the sidewall. I'd love to see you start an air dribble or something. The future belongs to players who understand the game, not just the mechanics. And guys, if you want more help improving faster and catching up to the current meta, come work with me and my team of pros for free for 30 days. Yes, you heard me right. We're doing a 100% free 30-day trial. Come join our private community and get access to over 15 live events a month, attend weekly calls with me, and join over 500 players and improve faster. If for whatever reason you're not improving or just not enjoying it, cancel within your first 30 days and you don't pay. Our Rocket League Clubhouse community is open to console or PC, but you have to be 16 plus and ranked gold or higher. I'll have a link and all the details on a web page at the top of the description below. Click that to check it out, and I'd love to see you inside. inside. By the way, full transparency, we're only accepting 500 members this year, 2025. There's a counter on the webpage below. I can't control it, and I think it's at almost 300 players already. If that sounds interesting and you're watching in 2025, I'll have a link below. Check it out, and I'd love to see you at my coaching call next Monday night. And that is why Rocket League became aerial-based. Now, if you're wondering what the best mechanics are to learn at your rank, good news is I made a video on that. I dropped a video earlier this year. It's called Best Mechanics to Learn at Every Rank 2025. It went kind of viral, so I'll have it on screen. Click it, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.